What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are here for our pre-match show for Liverpool Manchester City tomorrow. As always, your host today, we have me, Steven, we have Andrew, and Wahomie. And today we have a very special guest. He is a Man City supporter. We have Tim Willits. Tim, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm very much more relaxed than I was expecting to be at this stage of the build-up to the match.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd have to agree with you. I can't believe you guys are this far ahead. I wish we were having a better season. It was a little bit more competitive right now, but hopefully we can turn it around tomorrow. Everyone tuning in, we appreciate you guys. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. But Tim, let's get right down to it. My biggest question I wanted to ask right away was, Liverpool fans were kind of frustrated with our summer window. It took us a while to get the players in that we wanted, but from a Man City perspective, how has your summer signings been going for you guys? I know you brought in, Diaz as well as Ferran Torres. So can you just give us a breakdown how their seasons have been for you so far?
Yeah, so clearly, if you want to talk about someone who's come into the starting lineup and it obviously improved us, you can't really go any further than Ruben Diaz. He has been transformational, and it's just a shame I'm not talking to a set of supporters who are aware of the transformational impact of one single centre-half that can have. I'm sure you can probably imagine how that might go there. As far as Ake and Torres are concerned, probably these are depth of squad signings. In the case of Torres, I have no doubt that his time will come, and there's a season coming pretty soon when he's going to be a real threat, wide, tricky, eye for goal. But no doubt, as far as this summer is concerned, the key starting 11 addition is Diaz. And how long do you want to talk about Ruben Diaz? Because I can take the whole of the next 24 hours and I won't stop singing his praises.
24 hours?
Just, do you reckon there's been massive debate in terms of, I know obviously Diaz has been amazing, but there's this constant comparison with Van Dijk's impact when he joined Liverpool and Diaz. Do you honestly believe that he's had the same impact? Considering that obviously Van Dijk came into a much worse team. He had Karius behind him in goal. He was playing against Lovren, and at times he had Moriano next to him. While Diaz, as great as he's been, he's come into a City defence that's still got Edison in goal, still got Laporte, Stones is a £50 million player, Walker, Cancelo. So he's still got very good players around him. So is it fair to say he's had the same impact?
You're comparing apples and bananas, I think, and in many respects as well. I think the jury is still out in terms of we still have to see, don't we? At the moment, he's made a very, very solid and promising start, but come back maybe in a season or two, and we'll probably be able to have a better comparison. But certainly, we've all seen the statistical comparisons, and he measures up. Apart from anything else, there's just one. I know that you're Liverpool fans, so you're not particularly interested in these minor details, but you mark my words, whenever you see him in a defensive setup, corner, set piece, etc., when you see Ruben Diaz hitch his shorts up, watch out. He means business. That's his signature move. He wants to get going. That was his signature move. So, from a point of view, I would say come back in a couple of seasons and we'll see. But so far, so good.
Yeah, Tim, I'm just curious of the elephant in the room here. I mean, City have definitely had some issues with Champions League football. With the signing of Diaz, do you think you guys will finally make it to the final?
Just pause for a moment. You've just used a phrase that amongst our ownership might be quite enticing, but from the fan base's point of view, I think as soon as you mentioned that phrase, I have to do this. Just bear with me for a moment. Boo! So there is a mismatch because I think there's no doubt that amongst the ownership there is a strong desire to add a Champions League, and amongst the fan base, perhaps particularly the fan base of my vintage, there is some ambivalence about the Champions League. Not so much because of the competition, but because of the organising party behind it. we don't think much of UEFA. And again, we probably don't have enough time to go into all of the details of that currently. But undoubtedly, there is unfinished business in relation to the Champions League. It was such a disappointment that we were knocked out by Lyon in the summer, because it would have been the perfect, I think, response to our success with the CAS appeal and a perfect riposte to UEFA to go and win the trophy. We were rather hoping that maybe we could lift the trophy and then immediately throw it into a nearby dumpster as a perfect commentary, really. But yes, that is unfinished business, particularly amongst the ownership. And until we've won it, then it seems to me that we ought to be self-critical, and we are.
So when you think about Pep Guardiola, how would you rate his success? I mean, obviously you have brought in a couple Premier Leagues, hasn't gotten the Champions League yet, and he just extended his contract to 2023. So how big was that for you guys?
Massive. Frankly, him extending his contract so that he will, by the end of that contract, have managed our team longer than any team he's previously managed, is bigger than signing any player. And yes, I include the hypothetical signing of a player like Messi. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best coach in the world. I know you might have a competing candidate for that, but we think he's the best coach in the world. And the idea of getting an extra couple of seasons from him, at least, fills us with great delight.
Just it's a guy who said that City have more history than Liverpool. I don't know about that. I think that's a
question.
Yeah, that's not correct, Professor. I'd expect more accurate facts from you.
That's interesting. Well, I don't know whether that's a question that's directed towards me, because I can certainly, not from personal experience, you understand. I'm prematurely grey. So I started supporting City in the very late 1970s and early 1980s. But certainly there's no question that, for example, if you talk about winning an FA Cup, City won the FA Cup in 1904, which was at a time when Liverpool Football Club was still thinking about where the top of the league was. So, you could talk about history in all sorts of different contexts. You could talk about Wolverhampton Wanderers dominating football in the 1950s. And, they're back in the Premier League now, but they're nothing like the team that dominated in the 50s. Arsenal Football Club at the moment, we all have a little bit of a giggle at their expense. But if you go back to the 1930s, they were the dominating team, even Sunderland Football Club, So it just depends what you mean by history. I mean, I'm sure there are some old Corinthian Casuals fans out there pining for the time when their team were going to play the FA Cup final at Crystal Palace and so on. So, history, schmistery. The fact of the matter is, a lot of these northwestern football clubs, of which Liverpool and Manchester City are two, date from, the late 1800s in the industrial northwest, working class sport, and yes, Liverpool have had periods of dominance where they've won a lot of silverware. There is another football team from a different part of the northwest of England who also have won quite a lot of silverware, but I'd prefer not to talk about them.
So, just curious though, Tim, like when the Champions League starts up again, will that distract City? Because, there was obviously, like Pep said last year, I think he had an interview where he said that until he wins the Champions League with City, he'll always be judged a failure at City because he hasn't won it based on his time there. Because obviously he didn't win it at Bayern Munich, spent a lot there at Bayern Munich, over 200 million, didn't win it there. He spent nearly $1 billion at City, not won it, and he specifically was hired by the owners to win the Champions League. So is that will that play into it when the Champions League comes around now, that you'll be thinking, well, we want to, especially with the Champions League shortened with, one ties legs in the semi-final, that we have to win this Champions League this year?
Yes, I think that whenever you hear Pep do media, he, for a start, he's always so happy, which is always nice. Secondly, I think it's easy for the external observer to say he was hired to win the Champions League. I mean, he was hired to manage a football club, and in almost every metric you could possibly identify, he has been successful. The number of trophies he's won has been ridiculous. And yes, the gap on his CV, both with Bayern Munich and with City, is the Champions League. So to that extent, I don't deflect from that. He's a very successful manager. The best team always wins the league. Don't know what happened last season, but the best team always wins the league. Competitions, of which the Champions League is one, are different, and you cannot absolutely guarantee it. I have a sense that some of the things we're about to discuss in terms of style of play and tactics and so on may reveal the thinking on Pep's side that the number one priority is always the league. You win your national league, you win your national league, and then you worry about the cup competition secondary. But it seems to me that Pep must prioritise the Champions League, not at the expense of the league, but alongside the league. And there are aspects of the way that we're currently playing which seem to suggest to me that that is the philosophy which is following. High-scoring, double-legged ties where you go out on away goals is not the way to win the Champions League. And I think Pep has finally gathered that. And I think we have a slightly more boring mentality, which is intended to secure greater progress in the European competition.
So City haven't dropped points since mid-December, I believe. What's kind of been the success of that impressive run, and how do you guys think you'll line up against Liverpool tomorrow? I mean, clearly Liverpool have been struggling against a low block, and Pep does like to go a little tactical. Do you expect him to line up defensively?
Well, if you are going to expect me to give you an insight into Pep's selection for any given game, never mind a game at Anfield, good luck. Your guess is as good as mine. For all I know, we could line up with Ederson at centre forward, Kevin De Bruyne on crutches at left back, who quite frankly would do a better job than most of the people who played left back for us this season, and so on and so on. But there are essentially two options, aren't there, it seems to me, in very broad terms. Either a repeat of some of the Anfield contests we've seen over recent seasons. That is to say, safety first, essentially an unusual defensive mentality. What we have, we hold, and maybe pinch a goal. Or something that we've become accustomed to seeing this season. And in terms of what we've become accustomed to seeing this season, what's the key? Well, probably three main features, of which the first one is most obvious. Defence. We've got a solid defence. We seem to have found some sort of alchemy that exists between Diaz and Stones in large measure, and keeping clean sheets with regularity obviously gives you a great chance. Not quite the same further up the pitch. We had a period of the early part of the season, as we're all aware, where we struggled to not so much create, but to finish opportunities. I think that there has been two key developments in that regard. Firstly, Pep has ditched really the inverted wingers experiment, where you take a right-footed winger and stick him on the left wing and vice versa. Now, it seems to me that Pep has realised that there is greater equity, if you like, in having the right-sided wingers stretching the space and making the pitch big. And to that extent, that has assisted to open up space that was easier for teams with low blocks, as you've already discussed in the Liverpool context, to just knit up the middle of the pitch and make it too congested to create clear-cut chances. So that additional space has helped. And then the third factor is Ilkay Gundogan, just unbelievable flourishing of form. And the one comment that you can make about Ilkay is that he is a top class player who each of the coaches in tomorrow's game would pick very high up in their selection for any team they were playing for. Obviously, the Dortmund background. So Jurgen Klopp needs no introduction to Gundogan's qualities as a player. And Gundogan is one of those players at a very, very high level, but he's one of those players who, to a certain fan, it can be quite easy to criticise Gundogan if he's not doing obvious things like scoring and assisting goals. But the things that Gundogan does for your team is not necessarily what he's doing at the moment, which is scoring and assisting. He does all sorts of wonderful things that don't really feature on a statistical analysis, but you
Yes.
can watch him play and you just see all those wonderful. He drives the team forwards. He does a lot of the dirty work. And yes, those two factors: solid defence, more space with wider wingers, and Ilkay Gundogan stepping into such breaches has been left by the best player in the world being injured.
So, I mean, obviously you're in the good form. You're on that 10-game winning streak, I think. But City hasn't always had a good record at Anfield. Do you think that's going to play a factor at all, or do you think it doesn't really matter with no fans in the stands and just with your hot form?
I think that both might well be true. I think that on the one hand, the fact that City have a garbage history at Anfield may well prove to be the deciding factor tomorrow. Groundhog Day. By the same token, if Guardiola and his support team and the squad of players are able to simply turn up to Anfield with blindfold on, noise-cancelling headphones, and just go and play the same 90 minutes they've played for the last 10 or however many games, then I think that could be the deciding factor. So that depends. That depends. Yeah. But undoubtedly, the Anfield factor has weighed on the minds of the players quite clearly. You remember Mahrez's penalty a couple of seasons ago, and there is something strange about playing at Anfield. You know it from a positive point of view, and we know it from a negative point of view.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Morris seems to believe it's going to be a 3-0 win tomorrow for Man City. If that's the case, I'm in big trouble tomorrow, because if that's the case, I don't know if I'll make it to tomorrow night, because I'll be really, really upset.
Who's he calling the GOAT? I don't know who that is.
Well, he's either talking about Sean Goater, of course, one of my favourite City players of the past. They still have a special day of celebration in Bermuda, I believe, which is Sean Goater Day, which is his birthday. I doubt they're going to wheel him out tomorrow, even though we have struggled for a centre forward in recent games. But if you take GOAT to stand for the greatest of all time, then I think he must be talking about Ilkay Gundogan.
I love Ilkay Gundogan. But our friends over at the 1892 Reds podcast also said, hopefully we get the result we need tomorrow just to get that winning mentality back and going into the rest of the season. Definitely a big game tomorrow for sure. And with United's draw today, Everton's draw today, it's just more points for us that could lead us further up the table. So definitely agree with those guys there. But, yeah, big one tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I mean, Andrew Mahomey, going off that, I mean, obviously Liverpool hasn't been in the best form, but they do have a good record against top teams this year. So, what are you guys expecting and hoping to see from Liverpool tomorrow?
What am I expecting to see from Liverpool tomorrow? What am I hoping to see? I'm definitely hoping to see Liverpool's recent form continue. Not expecting to see that. What I'm expecting to see is the usual. Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
I expect to see the usual strong performance. I expect one of the key things for me tomorrow is team selection. Not so much, you know that Fabinho and Henderson are going to play, but where are they going to play? It seems to me that at the moment they've been manning the lifeboats in your back four. Not really using their talents in the best way. It may well be that one of them has to stay in the back four. I don't know. Maybe Kabak gets his debut, but I would expect a high energy performance from Liverpool, full of all of the things that we've seen over the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I think it will be a tough game. I'm not expecting any favours.
Yeah, I think for me, what I'm expecting tomorrow is, I think it's going to be a much more motivated and hungry performance. And I think normally when we play the big teams this year, we've normally done pretty good because our players always seem to be up for big games. Whether it's Leicester, Chelsea, Spurs, when it's home and away, they all seem to be up for it. So I'm expecting a bigger performance. And obviously the fact that Alisson, Fabinho and Mane are all going to be back, that's a massive bonus for us, because They are absolutely crucial to us. Of course, for me, in an ideal world, I'd want Fabinho and Henderson midfield, but I don't think it's practical to have that. So I want at least one of them in midfield, and one of them has to be a centre back. So, I think we'd have to throw in one of the new boys in, K-back, in, to be honest, to get one of them in midfield. But I'm expecting a much better performance because I don't think, we always seem to struggle against the smaller teams, but the big teams this year were up for it. And obviously the injuries hasn't helped, and we're missing certain players that are crucial to our style of play that allow us to beat the smaller teams. But tomorrow I'm just expecting a big performance, and it wouldn't surprise me, as I said before, I tweeted that if Liverpool won tomorrow, because we're going to be up for it, because it's a big team. So yeah, I'm expecting a new performance.
Yeah, I agree with Rahomi. I think that I think Jordan Henderson has to play in the midfield. I think that that means that Kabak or Davies has to play center back, maybe even Phillips if they're not ready. But Fabinho has to be back there as the center back, and Henderson has to be in the midfield. We need his abilities of covering our wing backs in a game like this. He's so good at finding the space that City are going to be trying to take advantage of and covering that space, and especially with a guy like Ilkay Gundogan in the form that he's in right now, it makes Henderson's position all that more essential. And also it pushes up Thiago and gives Gini Wijnaldum a little more freedom as well. So I think that's huge. I think the big matchup, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but Cancelo will likely be playing on the left for tomorrow, and Kyle Walker will be playing on the right. So I think Cancelo against Salah will be a massive matchup, and then Mane against Kyle Walker, but more so Cancelo, because Cancelo, I think, is Manchester City's second or third best player. I think that the signing of him is almost better than maybe not as good as Ruben Diaz, but still pretty up there. I mean, you've had how many seasons where you tried to sign a £40 million fullback, and it didn't really come to fruition for you. But then you finally found one in Cancelo, and he's just been an absolute revelation. So I think that's where the big matchup is in tomorrow's game. Obviously, the midfield and center backs for Liverpool, but if Salah can take advantage of that matchup, then I think we'll win the game.
I hear you. To some extent, one of the signs of how Pep is approaching tomorrow's game is whether he goes with Cancelo at right back, which is actually the more creative position for Cancelo to adopt, with Zinchenko, oddly enough, playing at left back. That would be a much more creative, offensive formation. And then if he decides to go Walker right back and Cancelo left back, but then I think you're talking about something which is a bit more from Pep. We have what we hold. Let's keep it tight. That's a more defensive mindset. So I agree with your analysis about Cancelo being a very important creator for City. The latest, actually, in a long line of Guardiola fullbacks who turn into creative or holding midfielders. Sometimes in the course of the 90 minutes, playing more than 2 or 3 positions on the pitch. So our big concern with Pep is always, with big games coming on the horizon, whether he decides to overthink yet one more time. I think you've been the beneficiaries of a bit of overthinking over recent seasons. I think perhaps the noise-cancelling headphones and blindfold approach is very much to be recommended for tomorrow. Don't tell him he's going to Anfield. Just tell him he's going to play another game somewhere and just tell him he has to play as normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think City are best when they're attacking. Obviously, I mean, it just doesn't seem like defending is in their blood, and definitely not in Pep Guardiola's blood. But I'm very curious to see how they line up, especially with Liverpool's most recent struggles against low blocks and defensively minded teams. You know, it'll be really interesting.
Very interesting. But we'll watch out for those fullbacks. The fullback selection, I think, gives you an idea of the way we'll play. Yeah.
So going off of that, who do you think? Who are you predicting for the lineup for Manchester City?
Okay. Clearly, I need to give you a bit of history here. Obviously, history has been a subject we've been talking about, and your followers have been interested in a little bit of history. I have a history of predicting the City lineup under Pep Guardiola, going all the way back to when Guardiola was appointed. I have never made an 11 for 11 prediction. So I'm the wrong guy, but then I don't think anybody can predict the Guardiola selection. So whatever I say is what he won't select. But here we go. Edison, I would say probably he will go Cancelo at right back, Stones, Diaz, probably Zinchenko at left back. I think Walker will be on the bench. I think he'll have a 3 in midfield of Bernardo, who is coming back to life. I think he'll go Fernandinho in the middle there. Gundogan, of course, picks himself. And then the front 3, I think he will pick Jesus to lead the line. And he'll probably go Sterling, Foden, but don't be surprised if Mahrez plays in place of one of those two. My strong desire is that Phil Foden plays and obviously scores a hat-trick. There we are.
If he does play, which side would he line up on, the left or the right?
He'll line up on the left to begin with, but as you know, Guardiola likes a bit of mind-bending, shape-shifting on the pitch. So he'll play in 7 different positions in the first 10 minutes alone. So just who knows? But he'll start on the left.
So Tim, who do you think? Andrew kind of talked about Cancelo, but who for you is like a key matchup that you're watching for tomorrow? Like from a City perspective, what matchups need to be won on your side in order to get to 3 points?
It seems to me that the way that we will approach the game, the key matchups will be, sorry to slightly swerve this question, but the key matchups will be all over the pitch, because the philosophy here is you've got to control the ball. And you might traditionally say that's control the midfield, but in fact, Guardiola approach is everyone's a midfielder. We've got a midfielder playing in goal. We've got midfielders all the way across the back line, just some slightly taller than the others, but everything is midfield. So control of the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball, keep the ball. So all over the pitch, every single matchup counts. It seems to me that if you're talking just tactical tweaks, the way in which the wingers will go wide, or the wide players will go very wide, and that's the way we best create the space for those critical additional bodies in midfield, whether it's Zinchenko stepping in from left back or Cancelo stepping in from right back and creating extra passing angles and lanes. So to that extent, there is no one key matchup, it seems to me. It's not going to be a question, for example, I don't think, of a winger against a fullback. I think it's more going to be, can your either attacking 6 or our attacking 6 plus the odd 1 or 2 control the ball? This is the kind of game where it seems to me that because of the league situation, there will need to be a positive result from the home side, because a draw suits the away side. So from that point of view, that will be a really intriguing matchup. Will your guys be instructed by Klopp to go out and give it a very strong, fast start from the beginning and try and wrest control away early goals? Or will Guardiola send his players out to keep the game tight for the first 45 minutes or so and then gradually build? We shall see. But it seems to me that the key battle is control of the ball, full stop, wherever it is on the pitch.
I think
Tim,
that's
just question
in the first game. Sorry, homie. I think that's what we saw in the first game this season was Liverpool kind of came out real fast in the first half and dominated that first half. But then the second half, it was all City. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of that tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that wouldn't surprise me, because you've got to start fast. Go, Holmes.
Yeah, so going to this game, generally, since he's left Liverpool, Raheem Sterling never has fancied at Anfield. He always goes missing at Anfield. Is there a worry again for him going to this game? Because every time he's gone to Anfield, he's bottled it. He's absolutely bottled it, putting stinkers before him all the way up since he's left. He's not actually had a good game at Anfield.
That's facts.
He's not scored or assisted at Anfield. So is there a mentality block for him that he just can't do at Anfield when he goes there? Because even when you think about most of City's top players, De Bruyne's never scored even though De Bruyne's not going to be there tomorrow, he's never scored assist at Anfield. He's always gone missing at Anfield. Aguero's never scored at Anfield. A lot of City best players always gone missing at Anfield. Generally, you look at it since even before Pep turned up. they've not always gone missing at Anfield. Is there a concern going into tomorrow, especially with Sterling, that he's gonna go missing again?
Well, I anticipate. I don't know how you guys follow the game. I always follow the game with the fake crowd sound turned off, so that I can hear the noise in the actual stadium. And if we find every time Sterling gets the ball, the home coaching staff will start booing him, then I think you've got a bit of a clue as to the way that Liverpool like to treat Raheem Sterling when he comes back to Anfield. The fact of the matter is, I think you could just as easily say X doesn't enjoy playing at Anfield, that hasn't performed well at Anfield of almost any City player over the course of the last 20 years. As a club, as an organisation, we haven't had good results at Anfield. We talked about this a few minutes ago, didn't we? So it seems to me not much point in singling out Raheem. I mean, the reality is that he has one of these kind of sorry for the British reference. He's got a Marmite kind of an approach on the pitch, in the sense that he can do the best touch you've ever seen in your football watching career 1 minute, and then the next minute he can miss from 2 yards out. He's very hot and cold. We can't wait to see him hot at Anfield, and it's about time. He's due. He's too good a player to play badly at Anfield again.
Well, there won't be any fans tomorrow, so I think he'll be okay, to be honest.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's not only the fans, the players as well. The players seem to be up for it at Anfield when Sterling comes, like always. So, like they seem to know.
Friends reunited, isn't it?
I mean, I truly believe these teams do not like each other. I mean, you saw the absolutely dismal way that Manchester City lined up for their row of honor. What the hell is it called? The
Guard of Honor.
Guard of Honor, yeah, the Guard of Honor. And, Bernardo Silva is already walking away before Mo Salah starts walking by. So, no, I think there's a deep hatred for both.
I didn't quite catch that. What was that about the Guard of Honor again? Sorry, yes.
Tim, do you feel that, like back in 18-19 when we drew 0-0 and Pep came to Anfield and played quite a defensive team and set up for the draw, and obviously you probably should have won it when Mahrez missed the penalty. Do you think he's going to adopt the same approach tomorrow, because he doesn't need to win tomorrow? A draw's good enough.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that that wouldn't be the approach I would want him to take. I just want him to wind up the team like a clockwork mouse and send it out to play the same game as we have for the last 10, 15 games. But I think there is a real chance. Who can get inside the mind of Guardiola? I know I can't. I've tried and I've failed. He may very well decide that the league situation calls for a rather more negative approach than we would expect him to adopt. I hope he doesn't, because I think the time is absolutely ripe for us to go to Anfield and smash you to pieces, frankly.
Do you still think he fears our front line like he did in that Champions League video where he was like, I think it was back in 17-18 where he was like, the Amazon video where he was like, I fear the front three of Salah, Mane and Bobby. Do you see, because of the not being as good?
No, of course. I mean, let all banter aside. I mean, Liverpool are an absolutely top team. Okay, if you look at your last three home results, you might think that you're struggling. You're not really struggling. Some of your players may be a bit off form or a bit tired, and some of your players are injured, but you're a top team. And any manager in Pep's situation would be very ill-advised to say, either on camera or off camera, to his players, this lot are easy. Let's go and, take the mickey and score 10. But what he also wants the players to do is to play their absolute best game against whichever opponent are presented. There's no doubt, just because that front three haven't particularly excelled in the last, say, 3 months, as we've become used to over the last 2 or 3 seasons, doesn't mean that they can't just tomorrow put on an absolute masterclass. And I would imagine that Pep will be saying exactly that to his players, not out of fear, but out of good match preparation.
Yeah, this is the key for me from Chris Welch from the chat. He said it's simple. City win tomorrow, they run away with the title and win it comfortably. I mean, I just feel like Liverpool have to show up tomorrow. If City win by a couple of goals, then that's going to give them massive confidence. They'll definitely go on and win the league. and I feel like they could go deep into the Champions League with that one. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with Chris?
I agree, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think if City comes in, goes 11 games straight unbeaten now, and beating Liverpool at Anfield, yeah, that's everything they need to propel them on. And I think Liverpool are firmly entrenched in this top 4 race. Like you can't keep dropping points. And if Liverpool does find a way to get all 3 points tomorrow, I guess it keeps the door open to the title maybe an inch. Barely. It's still there. We would really need City to fall apart. But no, I think 3 points tomorrow for Liverpool would be massive as well. I think we keep talking about needing that spark to kind of propel us in the second half of the season. This could be the game for us.
Yeah, I think for me, I agree. I think if City win tomorrow, the league ties over. But to me, I'm honest in saying, look, as good as City has been in the 10-game winning run, if you look at the average league position of the teams they're playing, the highest team they played was 9th place. They played all the bottom teams. They've not been anyone good, to be honest. And obviously, of course, Liverpool have been shocking against the smaller teams this season. Hold my hands up. But at the same time, we've had key players missing for those games. We've got our 3 main centre-backs out injured. We've got our backup striker out injured, so there's mitigating circumstances for that. So I think tomorrow will be City's first time where Diaz is actually really tested properly. Because he's not actually been tested. The same with Stones, he's not been tested since he's come back in. But tomorrow I'm looking at this. If we win tomorrow, it gives us confidence for the Champions League to know that we can still beat the big teams. That we are still a threat for the Champions League. Whoever we play in the Champions League, it's Bayern, anyone, we can still turn up and beat the big teams. The league, I still think it'd be an arse to win the league even if we won tomorrow, because I don't see City dropping 7 points realistically. I was looking at their fixtures as well. City's run of games coming up. I expect them to. I don't see who's going to really stop them. Tottenham are falling in piece. Arsenal have lost back-to-back, which is who you play soon. I don't really see who else is going to stop you. Man United aren't good enough. They just showed tonight they bottled it when they were ahead. So I don't really see City dropping those 7 points. Especially, and I think Liverpool, unfortunately, are likely to drop points again to a smaller club due to our injuries we've got. And I think that's just bound to happen again because, we miss Van Dijk's long diagonal balls and Gomez's long diagonal balls that helped us beat presses. We don't have that. So I think that is likely to happen again. So that's why I think it's a stretch to then, even if we win tomorrow, to say we'll win the league. Like Steve said, it's a small window. I'm more focused actually on the Champions League in the confidence that win tomorrow would give the Champions League to know, look, we can still beat a City with the injuries we've got, and we can still beat any big team. And that would give us the impetus of 18-19 season where City won the league, we won the Champions League. So, that's what I'm focused on.
I said it though, Man City, their run of form has been very impressive, but they haven't beaten anybody inside the top 8 in that run. So I think that when Champions League comes back, and Tim's smiling, but I think when Champions League does come back, they're playing against Borussia Mönchengladbach, great team in the Bundesliga. They could give City some trouble. If we can beat them tomorrow, that'll put a seed of doubt in the back of their mind. Maybe they can lose a game to Borussia Mönchengladbach. More games. I still think that they're very capable to drop points. I think it has to start tomorrow, though. If they drop points tomorrow, there's still a glimmer of hope. But if we lose tomorrow, then it's over in the league. No question about it. It's over in the league.
Over to you, Tim.
Thank you, everyone, for anointing us. When the final whistle blows tomorrow and we've beaten you for the first time since Adam was a lad at Anfield, it's handy because we'll just be there on the premises and we'll just be able to take the trophy back home where it belongs to the Etihad. So thank you for that. I think the official answer has to be, what is it? 16 games left to play, 48 points to play for. I don't think it's done even if we win tomorrow. So I'd say come back in late March, early April. It's a weird season with all of these fixtures. People can fall off a cliff. People can get suspensions and injuries, COVID, etc. So I would say it's a little early to be calling it.
So we talked about the Man City perspective on how they're going to approach a game, but like from the Liverpool perspective, guys, like what do we have to do to get the 3 points tomorrow over City? Like,
I think we need to approach it like we did in the 17-18 Champions League first leg, where we came out and we were up 3-0 up at halftime and blew City away, and then we just controlled it for the second half. I think what we tried at City away, we missed some good chances in that first half. We should have been out of sight before even City came back in the second half.
yes,
You know,
agree more.
and we absolutely battered City in that first half. I think the difference now is Thiago. You know, and I think this game is going to really suit Thiago because City aren't going to be defensive. Even if they do try to be defensive, they're not a defensive team. They're still a very, one of the best attacking teams in football. You know, so they're still going to go forward. They're still going to, push Sterling and those, get them up, get them forward and stuff. So there's going to be space, lots of space for Thiago to ping balls. And we've seen Thiago against big teams in the Champions League last year. PSG, Lyon, Chelsea, Barca. He was the best player on the pitch. So I feel tomorrow's going to suit him. And that's why we 100% need Henderson in midfield to free Thiago. Because if you got free Thiago, Liverpool will be able to control the game much more better. So if we do race into lead like we did the Etihad, we control the game. The Etihad, we didn't have a controller in that game. So it allowed City to come back in. We ran out of steam. We weren't controlling the ball and allowed City to get back in the game. And then City dominated the second half at the Etihad. So I think for me, it's a case of we need to have a come out fast, take the game to City, get an early goal, go for a second goal, and then just control the game and just keep the ball. And Thiago will allow us to do that. So I think he's the key tomorrow. Thiago and Bobby are the key. If Thiago has a good game and Bobby has a good game, we win the game. Cause when Bobby's on fire, Mane and Salah click as well. And he's electric. As he did against Spurs, where Bobby was ridiculously good against Spurs, and everyone else was good. So when he's on fire, the rest of the team's good. So I think we need those two to turn up, Thiago and Bobby. If they're on fire, the rest of the team turn up.
Mm. Well, Chris Morris here, Raheem with the first goal tomorrow. Gundog last goal, 3-0 City. I mean, I think the point there. I mean, I think the first goal is going to decide a lot. I mean, you can say that. You can say that about most games, but with these guys, especially, I think whoever gets the first goal, there's going to be a huge spark and can potentially carry on through the game. But Andrew, what do you think? What are you kind of thinking about for Liverpool tomorrow?
I mean, I don't know if I can say it any better than what Homie just did. He just hit the nail on the head. I think Firmino and Thiago are going to be massive in this game. As I was kind of hinting to earlier, I think that City might try to line up a little defensively, but I don't think they're as disciplined as, especially their front three. I don't think their front three is as disciplined as the teams that we've been going up against who are just used to playing a low block. I don't think the Raheem Sterlings or the Phil Fodens are going to be able to contain the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. So I think that Thiago will, if he gets that space, which I think that he will, he'll be able to open up the space for our fullbacks, which would be great to see because we haven't really seen Andy Robertson impact the game nearly as well as he has in the beginning of the season. I think Trent has gotten back into form, so I would expect a big game out of him. But we're only spot on. I mean, it comes down to Bobby and Thiago. I still think that matchup with Salah is huge too.
Can I just offer something? Obviously, you're talking about your own team now, but from what I've seen of Liverpool over the course of the season so far and previous seasons, you're really going to have to hope that your key star player really comes to play for you at Anfield tomorrow. I've just written his name down on a piece of paper. Can't quite pronounce it. It's VAR. VAR. That's right. VAR. Going to have to come to the party for you big time tomorrow. Mind how slippy it is in that penalty area. Mohamed Salah. Just get along studs on your boots tomorrow.
Mohamed Salah. Oh my God! Don't even get me started.
I'm gonna go diving. What Sterling is diving?
That one, Tim. I love that. Though. But the biggest thing for me tomorrow is the fact that we have our spine back. That we have Alisson, Fabinho, Mane coming back from injury. Talking about the defense and stuff, but we also notice when Mane's not in the lineup how less effective we are up top. So having him back there is going to be an awesome spark for us. I think he's going to be pretty monstrous. I think he has to have a big game for us, but Other than that, I really want to see a good game out of Trent. I think if Trent can have a good game for him, then we're gonna be tough to beat. I would love to see him get more aggressive offensively. If he can get to the opposing team's end line, that would be great. I would love to see that.
That is actually a very interesting matchup.
Chris Morris,
that is funny. Thank you very much, Chris. But can I just say, I do think that's a very interesting matchup, because clearly the game plan from City's point of view is not just to be offensive for offensiveness' sake. It is to ensure that your fullbacks have to worry about backwards rather than forwards. Because if you only let them worry about forwards, then they're going to be bombing those crosses in all day long. So clearly, occupying Trent, occupying Robertson, with both our wide players and also our wing-back wide fullbacks is going to be key. And who gets control. And it's all about control of the ball, of course, because you can't do that if you haven't got the ball.
I'm curious to see who City are going to try to target in terms of our back line. I mean, I guess depending if Kabak starts back there, would they try to target his side? Would they try to target Trent? I guess I'm just curious what Guardiola will do for that. I mean, clearly,
all about the half spaces. All about the half spaces. So, in a sense, whichever seam you pick, it doesn't particularly matter whether it's the seam between whether Kabak plays right side or Henderson plays right side or vice versa. It's all about picking the seam. Some beautiful examples from recent City games where you saw Gundogan just lingering, waiting for the opportunity, and then just darting down that half space, cut back from the byline, tap in the centre of the goal. The classic, if you like, Manchester City goal. So from that point of view, I don't think it's to do with personnel, although obviously Kabak, if he plays tomorrow, is going to have, an interesting baptism. Apparently he's a very good player. I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't sign anybody who wasn't a good player. You just think about all those great goalkeepers you used to employ. But from that point of view, I don't think the way that we will play will target an individual. It will be playing down the left flank, playing down the right flank, whoever. Mm-hmm. How is Loris Karius these days?
Good question.
You never write, you never call.
Tim, can you remind me how much you guys have spent on fullbacks in the past 4 years? I don't recall what it is. Isn't it like 300 million?
It's so much. 200 million. But I don't care.
What I was going to say is the chances that Man City have had in their games, Gundogan's not going to get that space at Liverpool. He's not going to have time at the ball just to shoot where he's had that time in. He ain't going to get that space. So those goals aren't going to come that way. So it's going to have to be like how you get the goal you scored against us at Etihad. It's going to have to be a goal like that where it's like an amazing pass and move goal for his free to score against us. And also, yes, K-Back is very new, but he's got pace and he's very good at his excellent 1-1 duels. So I hope he does play tomorrow, because I think he's got the pace to match Jesus, and he's very good at 1-1 duels, and he's a dominance in the aerial threat. So I think he would offer a lot more reassurance down the right-hand side for Trent, having K-Back there. So I hope he does start, because I think...
Do you know what I think, Holmes? Do you know what I think, Holmes? We'll see.
We'll see. Who do you want to see tomorrow back there, center back, with Fabinho?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Probably Kabak, just because I want Henderson to play at center midfield. I want him as a 6. I think that homie's right in a sense in terms of Gundogan. I think that having Henderson as a 6 he'd be more aware of Gundogan's movements into the box. That's what Gundogan specializes in. He just pops up kind of everywhere. Henderson's a guy who is constantly chatting. He's constantly talking in the center midfield, center of the park. So we need to know where Gundogan is at all times. He can overload any side, left or right. He can find his way into the 6-yard box. Like we saw last game, he whipped in a cross from the almost on the end line, and Raheem Sterling got a tap in. So he's the guy to watch tomorrow in terms of the midfield, and that has to be Henderson's duty. I think that Genie could do a good job of it, but Henderson is just much more vocal, and he's more of a presence in there. So that's what I would be looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I talked a little bit about it yesterday.
And please, I beg you, please, leave Bernardo Silva completely alone. He doesn't deserve to be marked or tracked or anything. Just leave him on his own. He'll be fine. He's no threat. Too busy drinking his coffee.
I did not like Bernardo Silva. I'm not a Bernardo Silva. Either.
Can't stand the guy.
But going back to the center back thing, we talked about it yesterday, me and Holmes, but I think it should be Kabak or Phillips. That my one thing with Kabak is it could be if he goes in tomorrow, plays a tremendous game, then that could propel him for the rest of the season going forward, and it could be great value for us at only 18 million option to buy. The only thing I'm concerned with is that this is probably going to be his hardest game that he would play. He's only had a few games to train, so it's
you'd have Alisson, Fabinho, Henderson structuring him, and he's a leader. He's not like some quiet centre back. He's known for being vocal and as a future leader player. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult for him if he just, I think even Klopp said they're up to date on our defensive positions as well in training. So I don't think it's going to be that difficult.
This is the reason why we signed him. We can't just bring him in and be like, oh, let's give him 5 games to settle in. We need to play him. That's why we signed him. We need center backs, and he's a center back.
I will say, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a yellow card tomorrow just for being so jacked up about playing, because he's one of those guys who plays with a little bit of an edge to him. So, but before we get to the predictions, Tim, one thing we like to do is just do a quick combined 11 for the season.
Yeah.
So we want to do a combined 11, and it's not based off of ability; it's based off of purely their form this season.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Form for the season.
This has been tricky because, of course, if you'd asked me this question about 2.5 months ago, a lot more Liverpool players would be on stronger form, and fewer City players would be on stronger form. But things have moved. It's awkward as a guest on your show because you want me to just basically say a lot of Liverpool names and wait for around.
What do you want?
So you want to be honest?
Yeah, we want honest, and then that way we can debate it. But
So honestly, and we'll talk it through.
Start with goal.
I think you have to say Ederson because of the clean sheet. All right, okay. Well, my vote for keeper is Ederson.
Okay, so we'll go. What formation we go by? 4-3-3.
Yeah, 4-3-3.
4-3-3, yeah.
So Steven, you start with the goalkeeper, right?
Yeah, start with the goalkeeper. So Tim said Ederson, and honestly, I agree. I think it would be Ederson this season. Alisson's been in and out with some injuries, and so I agree. I think it's Ederson.
Yeah,
Same here.
You got Ederson. How many clean sheets do you guys have? Definitely a lot.
Tim, do you know how many clean sheets you guys have?
Is it 13, 14, something like that?
That's incredible. Yeah. Okay, so now right back. So right back, I'll vote first. I actually think it should be Cancelo. I think Cancelo at right back. Trent still hasn't been Trent this season. Kyle Walker, I think he's okay. But like Tim said earlier about Cancelo, I think he's had a hell of a season. I think it'd be him.
I agree with that, Cancelo. I think Trent's only been good probably like two out of the last 4 games. Otherwise, he's injuries and COVID have really affected him this year. So, and he's not a preseason either. Yeah, Cancelo's been outstanding this year.
Yeah, I think Cancelo is one of his best signings. It took them 4 other fullbacks to get to him, but nice job.
Dry your eyes, Scan. Come on. Get your big boy pants on.
Tim, are you going Cancelo?
Everybody agrees.
Yep. Okay.
Homie,
why don't you center backs?
I think it's Diaz and Fabinho.
Yeah, I agree. Diaz and Fabinho. I don't think Stones has played well the past 5 games, but other than that, I think they've rotated a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah.
From my point of view, I think that there is an argument for saying that in an emergency, when you have nobody else left to play in the position, if you modify midfielders and stick them in at centre back and they play as well as your 2 have done, there is actually an argument for saying both Henderson and Fabinho as a duo. But that can't be right with a team that's kept so many clean sheets. So you've got to include at least one City centre-back. You'd probably choose Diaz, but they are in reality a partnership. So I think there's an argument for saying Stones and Diaz with an honourable mention for Fabinho.
I'm not giving any wiggle room on that one.
All right. So we're gonna say it's Diaz and Fabinho, but left back, I would say it's gonna be Andy Robertson. He's been probably one of our top 3 players this season, and just super consistent. So Robertson for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
There can't be much argument in that one.
I was scratching around. It's our Achilles heel, our left back position. Although if you come back in another 2 months' time, I think we'd probably agree that Zinchenko has had a great season. But no, this was the one that was easy for me to say. Yeah, the Scottish chap.
All right. So it's 3-2 right now. It's the City players. So let's get into the midfield 3. Let's start with the 6th position. Who would you guys? Well, I guess do you want to just want to do just a group of 3?
Okay, if you like.
Yeah, sure.
Who goes first?
Why don't you go ahead, Tim?
Okay. I think you've got to stick Henderson in if you treat him as a midfielder, not a centre half. And I haven't given him the centre half place, so I think you've got to put Henderson in there. Again, I exclude Fabinho because he's not in this formation a midfielder.
That's fine.
You've got to have an honourable mention for Wijnaldum. You've got to find a place for Gundogan, and you're not going to like this, Andrew, but Bernardo Silva deserves a place in this midfield. So
you're going to put Bernardo over De Bruyne.
De Bruyne's injured.
Yeah,
but how long? He's only been injured for 2 weeks.
Who? Gigi?
No, I think you're putting Bernardo in over Kevin De Bruyne.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, if we're talking about this before the De Bruyne injury, I'd stick De Bruyne in all day long. He'd be the first name.
All season.
It's all season.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm going to swap out Bernardo for Kevin.
Okay. Yeah, that's respectable.
For me,
I'll let Henderson sneak in.
Okay, for me, De Bruyne is in there because he's been outstanding for his injury.
I'll go. I'll give you De Bruyne and Gundogan, but I think I actually agree. I think Henderson should be in there. I think maybe even Genie, but because Henderson's been injured a little. It's tough. I'll give you for sure and De Bruyne.
Wijnaldum is your fourth in a 3-man midfield.
Yep. So I'll go Hendo.
I'll go Genie over Hendo actually in midfield. I think he's had a better season than Hendo. I'll go De Bruyne and probably Gundogan. Yeah, Gundogan.
Yeah, you have to go Gundogan.
All right, so I guess in the deciding vote,
busy midfield.
I think it's Henderson, Gundogan, and KDB if we're going to include them. Yeah, so unfortunately, it's another 2 for City. But getting to the front 3, Andrew, why don't you go ahead, start us off, and do your front 3?
I don't know how much of a good season Jesus has had. I haven't really followed him too much, but I'll go Salah, Foden, and Sterling.
Interesting.
Okay.
If I can just jump in there.
Yeah.
I agree, Salah. I agree, Foden. And it is a tight contest with Mane. I'm trying to keep it on the right positions on the pitch. And this is going to be a bit of a left field one, but because City have basically played the majority of the season without a recognised number 9, okay, I accept Jesus is a number 9, but he often doesn't really play in that role, and often he doesn't play at all. He's had injuries. So if it's the whole season to date, I'd say that the only number 9 is Firmino. So I'd say Salah, Firmino, and Foden.
Okay.
For me, Salah goes in. Foden, and we'll put Bobby in it. I wouldn't put Bobby in it. I think he's only done it over a few games. I don't think he's done it over a whole season. I'll go with Kerbal and I'll go for Sterling. I think Sterling's come out with some big goals for City this year.
Yeah, I think that's it for me too. I think it's going to be Sterling, Foden, and put Salah at the 9. I think that would be form wise. That'd be the best. Can't believe that. But close it out with
managers.
Guardiola. I'm expecting
This season. You have to give it to Guardiola. Yeah, they're in first.
All right. Well,
it hasn't happened yet. So
Pep, yeah.
Okay, but now to close it out, City dominates that one. But to close it out, let's do our official scoreline predictions, boys. So, homie, let's start with you, and we'll go around.
It's a tough one, actually. But I'm going to go with a repeat of last season, 3-1, Liverpool.
Ooh. I like it. Wait, homie, who scores, though?
Who scores?
Does Bobby score?
This time round, that Mane gets a goal. I think Salah scores. Between Mane and Salah, one of them scored twice, and the other one scored one. I'm not sure. 100% sure.
I was hoping you'd say Bobby.
I don't think Bobby will score, but I think he'll have a good game. But I don't think he'll score.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Okay, head heart. My head says tight. 1 goal in it. 1-0 away win. My heart says that Chris Morris was right, and that we're going to smash you up 3-0.
Any goal scorers for your side?
Well, the obvious goal scorer to nominate is Gundogan, but I actually don't think that's going to happen. I think that this is more likely to be a slightly unconventional goal scorer, such as, I don't know. It's about time Ruben Diaz opened his account, don't you think? So on either scenario, either Diaz or Diaz hat-trick, including taking the 93rd minute penalty to make it 3-0.
That'd kill me.
I'm going 3-2 Liverpool. 3-2. I think Salah gets 2, and I think I think Kabak gets 1.
Wow, that was gonna be my prediction that he was gonna get 1.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say it's gonna be 1-1. It's gonna be a draw. But I think it's going to be a huge back and forth game. I think Alisson and Ederson are going to have to make some massive saves.
They definitely will.
So let's see what happens. Should be an interesting game. But Tim, thank you so much for joining us, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it has been great fun for me too. Thank you, guys. And listen, don't get too depressed with the rest of the season.
Well, luckily, after we get 3 points tomorrow, we're going to be okay. But even though I just predicted a draw, but we'll see what happens.
Obviously,
that's the spirit.
Obviously, you want to hope you don't get to the Champions League again, because it doesn't always end up well for you. So so you want to avoid that.
What happens in the cups happens in the cups, I mean, let's unfinished business with the Carabao before we get to that. We've not even talked about the Carabao. That's our trophy.
Yeah. It's the right trophy for City too. That's the case. But everyone in the chat, we appreciate you guys. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't yet. We'll be back immediately after the game tomorrow for our post-match reactions. But otherwise, up the Reds, and we'll see you later.